Hi everyone, my name is Erin Elizabeth Wernberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today, taking some of your time to be here. Today we are talking about what is the law of verification and how does it show up in our lives, what does it do for us, et cetera, et cetera. So the law of verification is one of the spiritual laws that exists when we think about quantum physics and universal intelligence and how this plane works. So law of verification is basically keeps us from being a punk ass bitch about what we want and what we say we want in our lives. So it's this idea that if I am saying this is a boundary I'm setting, this is a decision I'm making, this is something I'm doing in my life, as soon as we declare that, to universal intelligence, the law of verification is like, are you sure? Because what about this? And what about this? And what about this? So it's for you to verify within yourself that what you're asking for, what you're saying, what you're claiming, what you want to have happen, what you want to do, it's a way for us to be accountable to that through things that are brought into our reality for us to either stay on our path with our decision or we get challenged in that way and we slip off the path. And if you slip off, of course, you can always get back on. But the important thing to remember about law of verification is that word is bond. So as soon as we declare to the universe or we decide or we say, this is my intention, this is what I want, whatever, anything like that, then we will begin to draw in experiences that could challenge that belief. And we need to say, okay, how bad do I really want it? Am I actually serious about it? Is this something that is actually I'm willing to say no to something that I could have been saying yes to in the past? Is this something that I am ready and willing and able to draw those lines and have that boundary and make sure I am showing up for myself in that way? So, a lot of times we bring things into our energy field all day long, or we interact with things in the world all day long that don't serve us or that do serve us. Some of them, they're not even on our frequency, so we don't even register them. But usually when we make a decision about something, or when we decide this is a time in my life that I am ready to level up, to be different, to change my energy, to set a boundary, whenever we decide anything like that, this is usually where the law of verification comes up and is like, are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you ready for this one? So an example might be you decide, okay, I'm gonna work on my sleep schedule, so I'm not gonna go out past 9 p.m. from now on, whatever. Could be the next day your friends call you and they're like, oh, I just got a promotion, I'm so excited, I'm gonna go out for happy hour at 8:30 p.m. Do you want to come? Okay, so something very immediately, it could be a little bit later down the line. And it's very in your face when you're doing habit rewriting, when you're choosing to have new things in your life. So that example of going out with your friends, for example, you could say, okay, it's a one-time thing. I'm going to go out, I'll go, whatever. And then that's just, and then maybe you decide after that you don't go out again. But in that moment, you have a choice to decide, am I going to use this time in this example to keep my word to myself, to keep my word as bond, to understand that this is something that I do not actually want to be saying yes to. It's just being presented to me, right? There's a lot of things we say yes to just out of habit. And when we declare it's time for us to have a new intention, a new boundary, a new goal, a new whatever in our lives, that's where we can really be challenged with, being having to hold ourselves accountable. Because usually with boundaries, the hardest part is making ourselves accountable to the boundaries we're setting within ourselves. So we're going to get thrown with things at us all day long, and it's up to us to choose and to decide, what do I really want, and am I really acting like I really want it? So another example could be, I'm going to break this toxic cycle with this person at work I always argue with, or with my ex who always reaches out to me, and then we just get in this spiral tailspin of everything. I'm going to break that cycle. So then it could be, it could be instantly, it could be, in my life, it's, pretty quick. Once we make a decision, something comes in to challenge that. But it's up to you to decide, okay, here's the bait, all set up, perfect, ready for us to go. Am I going to engage with it this time? So the law of verification, again, basically says, if this is what you say you want, and here's a perfect opportunity for you to go back into that place you just said you didn't want to be anymore, a perfect opportunity for you to break that boundary with yourself, a perfect opportunity for you to, really see how serious you are about it. And so when we get in that place, we need to remember, okay, it's up to me right now if I want to engage with this or not. Because if we are conscious enough to be aware that it's a decision we don't want to be making anymore, then we're conscious enough to know that we don't need to be making it. So if we have our own awareness, it can, again, feel very scary, very hard, very challenging if we're setting a boundary or doing something that we normally haven't been doing for a long time. But it's up to us, again, to remember, I am sick of this. This is the boundary I want to set. And law of verification is giving me an opportunity to set that boundary. And it's also important to remember, this isn't a punishment, okay? It's not to be like, haha, look at you, look at this. It's a remember that the universe loves us, God loves us, wants us to succeed, to thrive, to do all of that. So when this comes up for us, we can just remember that you're on the right path. So if you are conscious enough, first of all, to decide you want a new habit, decide you want to set this boundary, decide you want to break this pattern, whatever it is for you, if you're conscious enough to know you want to do that, then you need to have faith and trust that the law of verification is bringing this thing up for you and you're aware of it, and it feels triggering and annoying and bad because you are breaking the pattern. So whenever we get out of our comfort zone, whenever we go somewhere or do something that is challenging a belief we might have held for a really long time, that's when we can get triggered because, again, the ego wants us to stay small, wants us to stay in our comfort zone, wants us to stay in this way. So if you don't need to look at the law of verification as punishment of like, oh my God, it's making this so much harder than it could have been if these things just didn't happen. But if your reality of life has been like this and you're suddenly going to go up like this, you have to remember that when you go up like that, you have to shed and lose some of the things in your life that you used to constantly have around and were very normalized for you. So there's definitely, I'm sure, some area of your life where you don't need to change your habit, change your behavior, change your anything. And so you won't get as triggered when these things are brought to you because you already have mastered that boundary and have mastered the law of verification around that. So if you think of an example, you think of a way that you've already said, no, this is it for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show up that way, for example. So for me, like I've been sober for a long time. And so now whenever people ask me, do I want to drink? Do I want to go out? It's easy for me to say no. And I don't get triggered by it because it's just been my habit for so long. But when I first got sober, that's a different story. And so we have to think, if you're moving through this process and the law of verification is showing up for you, you can take it as something positive and something affirming to yourself of knowing that I am very serious about this. So I am conscious of the ways that I am breaking these patterns and not doing some of these habitual things that I would have just normally done previously. And I am moving forward. And then eventually that boundary is going to get solidified and that new habit, that new whatever is going to feel better and comfortable and easy for you. But you have to remember the law of verification comes in the beginning to just basically be like, are you sure? Because here's a million ways you could break this boundary. And because we're so conscious of it, we're thinking about it so much, it's so present for us. That's why it can feel so painful because we're like, oh my God, I just set this intention. But because we're so focused on it, that's where we can notice all the ways that it might be showing up for us, or that we could break the boundary, or that we could break our intention, or whatever else, because it is so new and so clear and so fresh for us because we're really working on it right now. So just remembering that for the law of verification, word is bond. It is there to make sure you're serious about it. And, being grateful. It is a gift. It is an opportunity to be like, I see this thing. I'm going to say no. I own the prize, head down. I'm not going to engage with it. And even if it feels bad or painful, again, it's normal. Even if it's something that you want, because you're moving out of your comfort zone and you're moving away from this pattern and habits that you've had for so long in your life. And so it really is just taking the time to ask myself, what do I want? Am I ready to act like I actually want it? Or do I just, it's nice to say I want it, but am I ready to go through the painful process of, saying no, setting the boundary, moving forward? Am I ready to do all of that? And if so, then am I ready to say no or yes to certain things, depending on where I'm trying to go with myself? And so you can check in with yourself. And this is something too, it really shows us like how serious we are about changing our lives and about having different boundaries. So if we have this opportunity to say yes or no and we're aware of it, if we keep repeating the old pattern, then something that can be very helpful is to think about why you want it to happen and then prioritize that why over your own reality. So for example, if you're thinking, I want to not fight with my coworker anymore, for example, or with my ex, or I don't want to go out all the time. If you don't know why you don't want to do those things, then you'll never be motivated to change and to do them. And when the question of should I say no to this comes up, you're going to say yes because you don't care. Like you know it feels bad. And so you have to think about, why does it feel bad? Okay, because I want inner peace when I'm at my job. I just want to be doing my job. I don't want this toxic cycle of arguing with this person to keep happening because I know there's no growth there. And so when you focus on, I don't want that, and I am going to get peace, my time back, I'm going to reclaim my thoughts. When you think about all those things you do have, or you will be getting when you set this boundary, then that is what motivates us to actually say no or say yes in the moment when we're being asked the law of verification. Okay, are you actually sure about this is what you want? And so just holding ourselves accountable, revisiting that. And again, like everything always, you're not going to be perfect right away. So just having some grace and compassion with yourself, and just, it's important to stay consistent and stay on the path. And if you just fall off, you slip up, you make a mistake, not a mistake, but you do something that isn't in alignment with you anymore, just remembering to have grace and forgiveness with yourself, and then getting back on and focusing on that in the future, after that. So it's not about beating yourself up for forever. It's just noticing, okay, this is something that I don't want to be doing anymore, and so I'm going to choose to not be doing it. Okay, I hope this served you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Shout out to the law of verification, just holding us accountable for all the things we want to be doing in our lives. If you have any questions about me, you want to work with me one-on-one, all that information is linked below in the description box. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.